Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it
is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk chirps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here comes the show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
What's up, BSers?
What's up, peeps?
Our fearless leaders feeling a little under the weather. Got some sniffles.
Tired.
Exhaustion.
He had a long week last week, that's for sure.
Long extended weekend. Get them old bones, man. It gets harder and harder every year.
Jesus Christ. He's not even here to defend the old age jokes.
Oh, I'm sure B more YouTubers going to show up at some point.
Tuber's going to show up somewhere at some point. We'll see. Oh, man. Well, guys, we got a lot to dissect this week. Tonight ought to be fun because we're going to dissect this Ravens 2022 draft. We gave our grades. We're going to recap them for the first round, and then we're going to give our grades for the entire draft this season. I'm really interested to get your takes. I think one person's grade is going to jump severely based on one player. We'll get to that later.
Amazing. So yeah, we all, like you say, take an overall look, impact on the team and what they can do moving forward to fill any like the remaining holes. We know what some of the holes that still are there that they didn't necessarily address in the draft. So we'll go over that too as well.
Yeah, and there's obviously going to be some some moves, some corresponding moves that happen. We've already just started to see some of those we're going to get into. And the Orioles have been making some moves of their own. With the May cut down to 26-man roster, that happened this past week. They had to cut it down, and so they had to get rid of some guys. And some baby birds also made their debuts. While some others,
best one in particular,
others are happily working their way up through rehab. So hopefully we'll see those guys. We'll get into that a little bit later. But before we do, Drew, why don't you give a shout out to our sponsors?
Oh, that good old team. Remember our team over at MD Crash? Been telling you about for the last 3 years. Well, they have expanded to more lawyers, handling a much broader spectrum of cases now. Still handling all of your auto accidents and injuries at work, but now the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon can help you with family issues as well, from divorce to custody and child support, to even criminal cases, from traffic tickets to maybe some murder. You can now call or text now 667-220-6500. Anytime for any of your needs. So save this number now. Update that MD Crash number, 667-220-6500. Call or text anytime to get the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon on the case for you.
Might help to hit the button.
I didn't want to. I'm like, am I supposed to?
I didn't have it ready. No, it was all me. All right, guys. So obviously a lot to go over and really dissecting this draft, right? We had our live draft show, which huge thank you to all of you that tuned in for that. We had a ton of people watching on all the different social media platforms, tons of donations, over $400 in donations that came through from you guys. So greatly appreciate it. We are going to wait till Fred comes back next week to go through and do the live pick.
Yeah, because that's always a fun thing. Anyway. We can have everybody in the room for that.
Of the not one, not two, but three winners.
Oh, okay.
3 winners. Not. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Does this come out of your pocket?
No.
What are you doing?
I got $10.
All right, there you go. No, but a huge appreciation to all of you guys that donated at bio.link /BirdlandBS. We actually this year added the Venmo and the Cash App option, which you can still do those at any point, but that was just for the draft show on last Thursday. But we definitely appreciate all that. It all goes right back into the show. And remember, the winner of that raffle is going to get their choice of either a Ravens jersey, the shirt jersey, with ideally we'd love to put Kyle Hamilton or Tyler Linderbaum on the back of it.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you want to have, as Nick Short would like, a brown on there, since you're not going to have one anymore.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to there later, but maybe we do that. Or you can get yourself a Birdland BS shirt. You can go old school or new school, depending on which way you want to go. But, we appreciate all of you guys tuning in. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't continue doing this. We bunch of guys sitting around having fun, right? I mean,
it's good. It's just the role we're on. Yeah, it feels great.
It feels awesome.
Climbing higher and higher.
All right, so let's jump right into it, right? Let's talk about the first round to start, right? Obviously, at 14, the Ravens go with the safety out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton. This was a guy that ultimately, EDC said it, nobody expected this kid to be here. This guy was Mel Kiper's number 4, and he fell to 14.
No one cares what Mel Kiper has to say.
It wasn't a quarterback or a punter, so James is upset.
Was it, yeah, it's another one of those. It goes to show you sometimes, too, like, it's not the same situation, but like what happened here with Orlando Brown. You had a bad combine, and it's like automatically you start dropping down a board, and it's like that cannot be the end all be all.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's stuff we've been saying. We've said
it. We hate
all
the
off season
combine.
anyway. So
that's the problem, is we all hate the combine too. So one of the things with him, right, is EDC was asked in the draft, right, when it comes to him, is he a guy that you can look at and have him be, a rangy safety, if you will? Is he a guy that you can expect to really cover the field, play center field? He was asked. The original question. I don't know if you watched the video of the round 1 post draft press conference, but he was asked the question, is he Ed Reed-esque? And he basically said, I'm never going to compare anybody to number 20.
Yeah,
Ed Reed is Ed Reed. He stands alone. Now, is this guy a guy that can play that center field type and be a rangy safety that can get sideline to sideline? Yes, he can also do things like Ed Reed. He can play up in the box, right? You can put him in the strong safety. You can put him at weak safety, or not weak safety, at free safety, right? And you can give him that ability to go back and forth. We did find out through EDC, and John Harbaugh especially even said you will see some packages with Chuck Clark, Marcus Williams, and Kyle Hamilton out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't shock me at all. I never really thought after the draft was made, like through the weekend, like never really thought like all the. I know I can't remember who asked. Chuck Clark's time is he being shopped? Is his time up? I never envisioned that meaning. All right, now he has to go because it's still a different skill set,
right?
And being able to use it'll be interesting to see. We'll see how good right out the gate, how good new defensive coordinator Mike McDonald is, to be able to use all these weapons at his disposal, because like you just said, there's going to be packages where they're all on the field. You know what
it reminds me? It gives me shades of, was it 2019 or was it 2020 where we'd see them with, 4, 5, 6 DBs on the field at the same time.
Well, and the stuff like when Levine was pulling off double duty and like getting in defensive snaps. He was in different positions. He might have been a linebacker for like half the game, and then you see him and he's doing safety plays.
What else they added with some of his speed and his his ability to read a defense or read an offense. The other thing that they did was they got a guy that, of course, John Harbaugh is going to love, because guarantee you they'll use this kid in some way on special teams.
Oh, yeah, probably. I would not be shocked.
His speed and physicality, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Especially if, maybe they think more of taking Duvernay out of that role a little bit to focus on the offense. We'll see how that happens, too. Yeah. I mean, it could be, one doing different return and one doing punt return. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. I loved it. I know it was like a kind of, you look at that thing, it's like not the need. But I also saw all off season, it wasn't a huge uproar, but it was a lot of people wanting like a Tyrann Mathieu. And I feel like, like he doesn't really have a position. Like he's kind of like a cornerback, and you know what I mean? Like he's playing so many different roles, or like a Simmons or guys like that. That's my vision. I think that they'll do with Kyle Williams in the future here.
Yeah, and I agree. Or you mean Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah, Kyle Williams, Kyle Hamilton.
You're mixing Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton.
Marcus
I get
Williams,
you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing here, right, when you look at the situation in the draft, the other guy that was high on our lists, two guys that were high on our list as it got closer, Jamison Williams went to the Lions at 12. 13, it goes to Jordan Davis, right? And he goes at 14 or 13 to the Eagles. So you're looking at the board and you're seeing Kyle Hamilton, you're seeing Zion Johnson, you're seeing his boy Trevor Penning, you're seeing Trent McDuffie, you're seeing Tyler Linderbaum, you're seeing Jermaine Johnson. Now, if you go back and watch, there were a few people in the room calling for Jermaine Johnson. A few other people, one person, that predicted the Kyle Hamilton move.
Yeah, you were pretty
He was
good.
the best player on the board
for a lot of those early picks. Yeah, you're pretty good on.
Yeah, it's one of those things. This guy was projected to be a top 10 pick, and he fell to 14. This had Ravens written all over it, and we heard it.
Why?
We'll get to that in a second. We heard it in the EDC press conference. They had no intention of seeing him fall.
Yeah,
but when he saw that, the phone didn't ring. And if you listen to what he said that this was it was draft-esque of when they drafted Marlon Humphrey, who they didn't at that point have the intention of drafting, but he fell to them and it was best player on the fucking board. They took him. Look what's happened, right? The other name that he mentioned, similar situation, Ronnie Stanley. Fell to them, best player on the board. They took him. In all three of these scenarios, he mentioned the phone did not ring, which was interesting because that's one of the things that we all were questioning at the end of the draft show was the phone ringing for Kyle Hamilton? Like, you would have thought it would have been, but the fact that it wasn't, you can't not take him there.
Yeah.
You just couldn't.
Yeah, and Eagles, I mean, like Ryan said, and predicting it actually has come out now, like, they were jumped for Jordan Davis. Like, that was the pick. And then once it happened, it was like you just said right there, like Hamilton becomes the guy and no one's calling. Turn the pick in. Let's go. Let's call the kid.
Yeah, like it didn't take much to decide. All right, James. So what's your thing? What's your issue with Kyle Hamilton?
Kyle Hamilton, the reason why he dropped, there's a reason. There's a reason why people passed on him. Like I said, if anybody in this chat room can tell me it don't have to be great, just good defensive players that came from Notre Dame, let me know. They have plenty of offensive linemen that have come, plenty of running backs, plenty of wide receivers, and quarterbacks came out of there. Their defense, that's not them. And second of all, their division or the division that they're in, I think they changed it now, but they're in the ACC. But the football team can make who they play. They can play what they want. That's why they play the USCs or the Alabamas or whoever. Like they make their own football schedule. But they had never, ever produced a good defensive player ever. And then when he got drafted, he doesn't look like he want to be there. He has the Joe Flacco mentality voice, and I'm like, that's great. I'm going to come here. No enthusiasm. And this guy's going to be your leader for the next 5 to 6 years. I don't think so. He's going to be a Raven bust. Just mark it now. And we could have went someone better than who we drafted. And that's what I'm going to say.
So not Penning. Let's take Penning out of it, though.
Who you drafted?
Who should have been drafted at 14? Not Penning, because we know you loved him.
Apparently the Ravens were never going to go for Jordan Davis. That's what I heard through multiple people. They were never going to select him. But they love Hamilton. Apparently they flew him in like 2 or 3 times to the castle. If he was going to be there, they were going to pick him. Like that's what EDC and a couple people said. They had him in there multiple times. So,
by the way, Hall of Fame class of 1988, Alan Page, defensive tackle.
88.
Stephon Tuitt came from there as well. I'm pretty sure.
Who?
Stephon.
He did that shit on purpose.
Stephon Tuitt. He's had a lot of good years with Pittsburgh.
I don't think he's from Notre Dame.
Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway, but no. Again, I don't.
Yeah, I think he got catfish on draft day.
Oh, my God. Anyway, I think when you look at it, it was the no-brainer pick. I know that James disagrees. There's probably some people in the chat room that disagree, but I think this is the guy that you have to kind of say he's going to become something. He's too good not to. And there's reasons that players fell. And if we're going to bring a guy up who fell, that we all in this room were going, how the hell is he falling this far? When the Ravens traded back in, we all went, oh, here it comes. Jermaine Johnson, here we go.
Yeah.
And they don't take him. He gets taken the next pick after we come back in. Because they turn around, and what do? They turn around and they get the guy that we thought was actually going to be there. And maybe this is the thought process, right, for the Ravens is you got to take best player available, but the guy that we wanted at 14 was still there. They're looking at the board going, nobody's jumping here at the gun to get him.
Yeah.
If he's fallen this far, he's going to continue to fall. Let's figure out a way to get back in. And what do? They trade with Arizona. At first, we thought it was Dallas, and ESPN got it wrong because they changed it with Dallas, and then all of a sudden it was flipped over to Arizona.
That's still like the craziest. I still blank for like that whole like.
We'll get into why you blanked later.
I still blanked that whole time. I was just staring at the screen like we're talking. I'm just like,
But they make the trade. They get back in, and they go
even
after.
trade back one again.
And then they traded back to 23, and then traded again. So they wind up getting the center, the guy that we thought they were going to go after at 14 in Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. And the interesting thing here was the press conference really sold me on what's going on. Now, I'm curious to get both of your takes before I give you mine. But Harbaugh was said, I'm assuming Tyler is going to come in and start at center for sure, obviously. Here's my question to you. Does this mean they value Tyler more at center or Makari's versatility, or both?
So it's both. I think they valued Linderbaum more at center. I think he's coming in to be the center. The thing is, like I've said, when it came to Makari and Bozeman kind of thing, like everyone's like, well, why do if you could have got Bozeman for the deal that he got from Carolina, it is what it is. But at the end of the season, when you turn down the deal and then they gave it to Makari, you don't know what's going to happen between that signing and that. And it just right then and there that I thought he'd be the center, but obviously that's how the draft falls. But it shows his versatility that like they're going to sign him to that deal. He's been all over the line just about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if he has to be the left tackle, I could, you know what I mean? Like I think he doesn't do, for me, I could see like he's not this all pro, all stud at this position or that position, and then like that's it, and he can do all the others okay. Like he just does everything else good enough. Like he's not a bum.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a bum in any one position. So it shows his versatility. I know, like, they kind of like the thing was the Ravens never really go deep on center in the draft or free agency, and I get that. Like that's what they used to do in the past, but like we were kind of thinking that same thing when it came to their first pick last year. Like they're not going to do wide receiver. It makes too much sense to get wide receiver. They're not going to do it, and then they did it anyway.
Right.
It's not a sexy pick as wide receiver at the center position. Like I get it, but I preached on draft night. Like you may not like it. It's not sexy, but like how many times in his whole tenure here have we not said protect Lamar?
Right.
So it ain't always just about getting him the weapons. It's also making sure he can stay upright to throw the ball to anybody, let alone who he's throwing it to.
All right, James, what's your take on the Linderbaum situation? Do they value him more at center? Do they value the versatility of Makari, and that's why they pick him up?
You have to go with best available player for them. But I think we could have got Linderbaum in the second round.
You think he would have fallen that far?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because
I've heard this argument. So
and the reason why is supposedly he's the best center out of the draft. Everybody needs a center in the league, and if he's the best, he would have went off the board earlier than 14. I think they value that his hands are his arms are kind of short, but he has the wrestling technique that can get him back there. But like I said, he could have went second round. I personally would have went with David. The guy from Michigan.
So they got him anyway, though.
No, I understand.
Ajabo.
I would pick them up where Lindenbaum was, so you have 5 years control. Because now that he went back, which is a great pick, but now you got to give him a year of rehab. Then you got to give him a year, maybe a year and a half, like second year to get him into shape, playing as a Raven, and then the next year he's,
I get what you're saying, but you
get that value, but you can also say, hey, I'm not going to give you first round money because of your injury, and basically have 5 years to get him up instead of just when he's in his best shape and playing Ravens football, he's going to a different team.
But that's the thing. You don't get to say we're not going to give you first round money. If he's first round, you have to give him first round money, and he has to get 5 years. You get 5 years. So I get what you're saying.
5 years. You don't have to pay him. You don't have to pay him like you can pay all. If he doesn't sign, he goes back in the draft, and that's fine. But you get 5 years with him. You don't have to. You don't have to pay. It's up to what the agents and the owners come up with. There's no.
All right.
There's no.
I'm not going to claim to know enough
money.
about that, but
That's why they changed the rule because you'll have Stafford came out. He
Well,
got
I
like
think
ridiculous money, and then they made like a cap number.
Yeah, it's
to
a
go
cap
to.
number, but like it increases every year. It's not as exponentially. I mean, usually jumps in that
Right.
5th year
Yeah, but
option even later in the
You
draft.
don't have to sign your contract. Like everybody's contract is different. It depends on how high you go or what position.
But
you
here's
play.
here's the difference. When you're drafting a first round player, that first round player should have an impact this year. I get what you're saying, the value of the fifth year option, and I can see that argument. My issue with that argument though is the fact that you have a guy that is a top tier at his position that can make an impact today.
Well, Linderbaum's not going to make an endpoint day one.
He's your starting center day one.
He's not started day one.
yeah,
he's going to be your
starter
starting
before
center
Ajabo
day one. Exactly.
Oh yeah, but he's definitely not going to be starting day one.
Yeah,
I will put $100. He's not going to be day one. He's not going to be the center.
We're talking day one of preseason. We're talking day one of the actual season.
Actual
Game
season,
one.
game one,
Week one.
week one.
He'll be the starting center.
He's not going to be starting.
He's going to be a starting center.
Nah.
I'll take that bet.
All right.
I'll take it.
All right, well, it's
easy
in
money.
the ether. We've seen it's all video.
It's in the ether. It's there.
Too bad.
But no, so the thing for me, right, when I look at this is, and I said, is it one or the other? Is it both? To me, it's both. Have you seen the videos of this guy play?
Yeah, he gets that to that second tier and
Whew,
he
watch
keeps
out.
blocking,
Watch
like,
out, DBs.
He's got that motor running like he doesn't stop until he has to stop.
That's the only thing that when you looked at some of the stuff and some of the knocks on him was that sometimes he overcommitted once he got out there and not sit back and protect until he knows that the guy's running. But you watch him run over some guys and he can truck some guys and make some lanes. And that's something that you need, especially if you bounce him and he gets to the outside on a run play, gets out and is able to get out in front of Lamar and protect Lamar on a play, or even JK, anybody like that. There's huge value in this guy. And I think the flip side of that is they were looking and saying, well, shit, this allows us to have Makari at depth, allows us to go through and say, okay, Makari, we need you to fill in it right behind Morgan. Give him a break for a few snaps. We need you to move into left. Here's the other thing. Who's had the most snaps on the offensive line in the past 2 years total?
Makari?
Pat Makari.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was a trick
No,
question.
it wasn't a trick
I thought somehow he'd be like, it's Pat Ricard. He's somehow like
Yeah, somehow he
he was
worked the
catching
line.
snaps as a like fourth tackle you didn't know
No,
about.
but as far as a lineman, he's had the most snaps out of any of the Ravens linemen. And there's a reason for that because he's able to be plug and play. He's able to give guys breaks on different snaps.
Yeah.
If a guy gets injured, he provides you depth at a solid spot. And like you said, he doesn't play any one position way above average, but he is more than serviceable at multiple positions.
Yeah.
And that's the value there. Even if you get Linderbaum and somehow Linderbaum doesn't become your starter, we'll go James's route.
then you have a starter.
You have a starter. You have a starter on your roster already, which gives him the ability to sit behind him. But it's that whole depth piece. So there's two sides to this pick. I think this pick made 100% sense, and you go from there.
Just smoking the weed out there in the chat room. Starter day one, please. Easy money.
Everybody's saying James
Easy
lost
money.
$100.
You guys are gonna be sending me PayPal. I'll give you my PayPal account. You're gonna be shipping money out here.
And you can also request it when he is there. So anyway, the second round pick, as you alluded to, we go out, we get David Ajabo.
He's gonna end up not starting, but having like the most snaps in that first game. And he's not doesn't count. See, I said starting just because it was this guy on the field.
Makari will come out for one snap.
Yeah.
He's not starting, bro.
I think he's starting. I totally think he's starting. You got a bunch of people saying bet for sure. But all right, so David Ajabo, Michigan, pick him up with a 45th pick, edge rusher. This is the guy, if you don't remember, he tore his Achilles, I believe it was at the Michigan Pro Day.
Yeah, it was literally like 6 weeks ago to the day he got drafted.
Yeah,
Like,
so, he tears Achilles. Prior to the injury, this guy was a projected first-round pick, to James's point. The piece is this is an Achilles injury. We've had a defensive lineman have an Achilles injury. How long did it take him to get back? Quite a while.
Yeah.
Was he the same after it? No. I get this guy's young. He's got a lot of drive. He plays with a tenacity.
Cam Akers.
What about him?
he's the barometer right now.
He tore his Achilles too.
Yeah. No, and Cam Akers also when Cam Akers came back, he was still playing at a higher level compared to T-Sizzle.
T-Sizzle didn't tear his Achilles like his first or second year. He tore his Achilles towards his end of the career. What, on treadmill or playing basketball?
He was
Basketball.
playing
Playing basketball in the city.
But he
I'll
told
never
me it was
forget that.
But he
Playing
told him it was a
basketball.
treadmill, right?
No, he didn't say. I can't remember. It wasn't the treadmill. Wasn't the excuse, but he did give like at first. He did lie. I don't know if he lied to the Ravens, but like he lied at first.
And look, I get he was. I get he was old. And some people were saying that. I get he was old. My whole point.
Technology is even better now.
And I get that, and that's one of the things that they're saying. You know, EDC was saying he thinks this guy will be back before the end of the season. I hope that's kind of right, but I kind of hope it's not at the same time, because we've seen issues when we rush guys back, especially guys who need power in their legs a lot. When they don't have it, it's a problem.
Yeah,
it creates a problem. You rush them back too early, you think they're back. They're not. I get that an Achilles is different than what Ronnie Stanley went through. It's different than what Hollywood went through. But we know that there are lasting effects from these injuries, especially for a guy that's got a lot of weight on him, that's pushing a lot, that's trying to literally push a lot of weight around and throw a lot of weight around, and a guy that's got to be able to turn the edge and cut the edge quick, right? So you worry, okay, when you get stuff like that, it's not necessarily the Achilles that you have to worry about now. Now it moves up and it's the knee, because the knee's taking the extra brunt to account for the Achilles at times. So there's different things that happen here that you got to look out for. So that second round pick, look, I get it. He definitely should have. He fall in the second round. He did. I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I'd rather a player that has an impact today, but I get the long-term impact he could have.
My view is, I'm not necessarily on the fence. My view of it is I see it on both angles that you guys both do, because it is still that early like ACL injury where like it's still not something that guys necessarily ever really come back from. Cam Akers right now is the barometer, and maybe we'll find out this year. I mean, if he is not a high level running back, but he's he's a mid tier running back. He plays all season. My point. Then that's the good barometer on maybe they're turning the corner on the Achilles. I am worried about it, but I also don't think that like he's not being thrust out there before he's ready, and there's no point in it. Yeah. We know they're not going to do it. I also have a little bit of faith in I'm seeing hear decent progress on guys with their knees, with Ronnie Stanley, with the guy that they hired from Tennessee's training staff who specializes in rehabbing injuries. Like that was the point of bringing him in, is to help with the rehabbing of injuries.
Well, not even just that, but help with the prevention of injuries too.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. That's why with it being a second round pick and getting 2 picks and one of them filling a definite need, it didn't bother me as much. But like when I was sitting there with hanging out with Fred watching it, and we were both kind of like, I don't know what to think. Like we didn't until the next.
You know what I thought?
When our next pick gets made, that's when we were like, right before that pick, we were kind of like, all right, I'm talking myself into it. Maybe it's rose-colored glasses, but I mean purple-colored glasses, but I'm talking myself into it.
You know what I thought when I saw it?
Yeah.
Here's the fucking Michigan train working again, right?
But I think this one, Ryan's like, it kind of makes sense though a little bit.
Yeah, but that's the thing is the familiarity with Mike McDonald. I don't know if you saw the video of them calling and announcing a job that he was going to be picked by the Ravens, and Mike McDonald getting on the phone, and you could hear that there was already a respect and understanding and a repertoire that it's time to go to work.
Yep.
And so I can appreciate that. So again, we get a guy that's got a lot of mental fortitude, plays with the tenacity. Obviously that tenacity came out during pro day, so much so that he wound up hurting himself. So, you hope that the Ravens don't rush him back. Let him take his time. He could be an impact player long term, but don't rush him back. I get things have come a long way. That's my concern.
And so, as I was saying, what made me feel better was this next round pick that made me and Fred really feel much better. Travis Jones, a nose tackle from UConn, in that 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
When it happened, like me and Fred were like giddy. We couldn't get our high five in that. We were so happy. We were just so happy.
6'4", 325.
You know what I mean? Like, because we watched the draft. Me and him were both all on Jermaine Johnson. We didn't get him, and then he goes the next pick. We're like, oh, and we just felt like it was going to happen again. Like they're going to take something else. And he's going to go this next pick. So when they said Travis Jones, immediately me and Fred were happy. So yeah, you said 6'4", 325. I mean, he's going to boost the interior pass rush one way or the other. He's just going to be such a space eater And it's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get guys like this, and that high hope is like an Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. Like, he may or may not be that. Obviously, if that is the barometer. Whether you want that or not, you can smirk. That's what people aim for. I didn't say that's what he was going to be.
It's barometer, by the way.
I don't care. Barometer, route, tomato. I'm not saying he's going to be one of these guys, but some draft experts definitely thought like he was going to be a top around one talent.
Yeah, it's a lot of experts were saying he was going to be like a 25 to 32.
Getting a first round talent in the second or third round, I can't knock something like that. When it's a need, it's definitely having depth on that defensive line. You feel a lot better having Travis Jones now than you did before.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, is to have two guys that were initially up there and to have them be in that situation where you're saying, all right, we got this guy in the third round, and some people thought he should have gone in the first. The thing here was there were so many defensive players that some of these guys went early, but then you had the late to mid round rush on the offensive guys, which then turned and pushed some of those defensive guys back again. So it's just crazy to see. Now, obviously, fourth round is where we thought this guy would go in the third round and be that third round pick, but he winds up going fourth. And I know that Fred and Ryan were ecstatic to see this pick as the Ravens go and get tackled Daniel Falele out of Minnesota. This guy's a native Australian. He's gotten more of a developmental type talent, but he could get some rookie reps at times to give guys a breather, things like that. Sit behind some of these guys. It's going to be valuable. He's a guy that started at right tackle 31 of his 34 career games. So if Morgan Moses goes down, he's a depth piece.
Depth should be a lot of these picks we're going to end up getting to also like depth. That should be like the word of the day for Ravens fans.
It is.
Because that was obviously the problem last year. It was like once you had all these injuries, it was so hard to cover that depth.
Well, and he's a big guy for he's a big guy, period, but especially for right tackle. He is 6'8", 384. Now they're going to trim him up a little bit. I expect to see him play at 6'8", maybe around 360, 350.
I like
would
this
be pushing
guy.
it.
This is
you
one
like
of the
him?
guys I like. Travis Jones, I wasn't a fan of, but this one, when they picked him up, I was like, "You're getting a steal out of this." Like, he's going to need work, and he's going to get that when he gets to the Ravens. But I think he could be a Pro Bowler for the Ravens. Everything about this guy, I love.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a great pick. He's got good.
I just look at him standing at like other human beings. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, well, he's got physical attributes that make him look dominant. You said mountain, right?
Like, could you imagine if you had like Ray Rice level of running back still playing for this team? Like,
well, here's
how huge he's going to be over.
Here's another interesting stat for him, right? And obviously, there's a lot of factors in these, but you're always looking for the interesting stuff that help you justify a guy at times. When Minnesota had him in 23-11.
Yeah.
When he was the starting right tackle. That's impressive, especially in the Big Ten. Going against some of the Big Ten, Big Ten teams that we saw this past year, and even prior years, past few years, Big Ten's been getting bigger and better, right? As a whole, not just one team. All the teams are getting better in the Big Ten. It's not quite the SEC, right? If it's an SEC player, he's definitely a first rounder.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
he's in a different situation. I don't care if he
was playing at like Texas A&M or something. He's still
exactly. So he's a guy that I think comes in, and to your point, it's a depth piece. It's something that we can really rely on, especially on an offensive line that we've had questions for. And who knows? We don't know what comes out of this when these guys get into. When they get into camp. So there's a lot that could actually happen. Falele for a goal line package. What does it say? His floor isn't low due to, I got to scroll back up. His floor isn't as low due to his rugby background. That's in rugby, you got to be athletic. Mm-hmm. And so that's what this guy provides. So good point there.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. Like, I definitely, when that pick was made too, was like, cool. Because like you said, that was one of the things we thought about in the third round. Shit, I think even with our first mock, it was like almost contemplating him for the second round, like keep him on the radar, but let's see where he goes. So getting a guy like that in the fourth round.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
That was pretty
well, that
good.
was just the first one in the 4th round with the 110 pick. The 119th pick, so 9 picks later, they pick up cornerback Jalen Armour Davis. This guy is out of Alabama, obviously SEC school. We talked about that, right? If they go if it works in the favor of Alabama to win the championship and not Georgia, he's probably going higher.
Yeah,
he probably would have not have fallen to the 4th round, but he does. So we get another potential playmaker in the secondary here. He's going to add depth at cornerback. Remind you, we've lost Tavon Young and Anthony Averett, so we don't have a whole lot of depth here. We have Kayvon Seymour. Yeah, I said that right. Kayvon Seymour. If you don't know that name,
or Darius Warsh. Why did I say Warsh? I never say Warsh. Or Darius.
What
Warsh
is you and saying things today? You just can't talk today.
Words.
But no, so this guy, the only big knock about him, he's got some injury issues, right? But he's 6'1", 197 pounds. He's long. He's athletic. Ran a 4.39 40. Good against the run. Good to have with a cornerback.
Good to have. Like, word of the day. Depth.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean. Like,
you're gonna hear this on repeat.
You're gonna hear it on repeat. I mean, I hate but it is like. That's another one of those things going into the draft. Now, we were thinking high, like Stingley and Sauce and McDuffie and those types, but like we all still kind of like, you can't ignore cornerback room. Well, they went and decided not to ignore the cornerback.
I'm going to double down. I'm going to say it's a pair of double Ds. It's developmental depth.
Yeah,
because this is a guy that has the ability. Get him over, make sure he's over the injuries, make sure he stays healthy, which we've had issues with cornerbacks. Right? Think about that. We've had issues, and you bring in a guy that has had an injury. Mm-hmm. Little unnerving a little bit, but the athleticism outshines that. Not to mention you're getting a guy that played well in the SEC in the 4th round for Alabama. That's pretty good, right? So while he's developmental, he'll be plug and play faster than some of the other guys that you would get later in the draft or through undrafted free agency. So again, he's a guy that provides you the depth and provides you the ability that he could be a playmaker, right? You put him in the nickel, he could probably play in the slot a little bit, but also goal line. You're playing a goal line, that little flick out. He's a guy that you're having out there to be physical, right? To get up and high point the ball if need be. I do expect him to also another guy, special teamer. Yeah, he's gonna play. This guy is special teamer written all over.
Definitely is. Yeah, if he comes in and wants to do that, that's already a notch in his belt. Like that's in his favor to curry
all
favor
of these
for the
guys
rest of the
should
team.
come in and go, where do you need me to play special teams, John?
Where special teams coach's office at?
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm there, first day.
So then we pick out 9 picks later. 128th pick.
This is 3 of the 6 4th round picks.
Exactly. This is number 3. Iowa State tight end. Yes, I said tight end. Charlie Kolar. He was considered one of the top returning tight ends going into 2021. What hurt him was some of these tight ends that actually wound up just being a little bit more flashy with the hands and having more catches. But this guy, the thing about him, he still was 5th in receiving yardage for tight ends. That's pretty damn good in the 4th round.
Yeah, it is.
To have the 5th best tight end receiving wise. Not to mention that this guy's got a good frame. He's 260 pounds, so he's going to be a strong blocker. I've heard that before. Releases well and can find some coverage against the holes in the zone and passing game. I've heard that before. This is potentially your next Nick Boyle.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, like that's a position you're going to have to fill. I mean, it's not like you want to expect that to happen now, but it is.
I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying like he has that the build, the character, and the skill set to do those things.
Because is it Boyle's last year Boyle's deal, or
is it this year or next year?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
James might be able to help us look that up. When is Boyle's deal over?
The room usually knows.
But yeah, that's one of the things that I think we can look at with this guy. What did you think of picking up the tight end here?
I think it's a great pick, and apparently Harbaugh said today they might, 2019 they ran 3 tight ends. They said there's a possibility they might run 4 tight ends this year. So
yeah, because we have there's another tight end pick later on we'll get to that maybe it piqued my interest even more than Charlie Kolar. But I mean, look, you can start to see some semblance of what they did before when he had Mark Andrews emerge and you had Hurst as the move tight end and Boyle doing his thing, and you know what I mean, even down low, Pat and all that. Yeah, it's reminiscent already automatically of the 2019 thing, but I think it's going to be even better if they implement stuff from 2019 because the passing game is still going to be much better than it was then.
Yeah, and Boyle's next year is actually Boyle's last year because there was the extension, so it was the extension that was there. So we've got him this year, and next year will be his last year.
So
He'll be
just to let you know, for you two and Fred and Ryan, Dave said EDC will be in jail for all these thefts that he made on draft day.
Well, you can call Bowers the son.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, but yeah, again, yet another pickup, and again, it gives you a developmental piece that can also have an impact, play a role. If Boyle goes down, gets hurt, it's again depth, developmental depth. This is what we're getting into in the 4th round. Now, some of these guys could wind up working themselves into a starter-esque role, and one of them is a guy that
just let this guy.
That James is going to be happy about. James, tell us about our 130th pick. Tell us what it was. Who was it?
It was the best pick in the draft. It's a punter, baby. I told you we're going to draft a punter.
A fucking punter and the whole Penn State bull crap. So
yeah, right. Exactly.
That he will be starting on day 1. And this guy over here will have his jersey on. A punter be rocking a jersey for them.
James Wood. He's talking about Jordan Stout out of PSU, the punter out of PSU. Stout spent his entire pro day working as a holder, so we really didn't get to see him a lot as a punter. But he did rank 2nd at Penn State with 5 field goals, 50-plus yards. This is a guy that, I think you guys were talking before the show. They had him on 105.7 The Fan, and he was talking about how his job is to get the ball up in the air, keep it up there as long as he can to where the other guys can get down the field.
He said multiple times, because they brought up the punt god, Reza, and they, how he can, he's like, he booms like the 80-yarders. Like, that's cool. But my job, and the only thing I care about is there should be no tackles in any game I ever punted. And he said that like 3 times during the interview.
That's young Sam Cook-esque.
Just say, like, he mentioned how, like, we've seen it with Sam in interviews and vignettes and stuff of how he approaches spin on the ball and where to put the ball and stuff like that. He was saying the same thing.
The technical aspect that he understands behind stuff,
everything that it kind of feels like a Sam Cook duplicate.
And if Ryan and Fred were here, they would tell him he killed the Terps when they played him, dude. He literally killed them. They couldn't stand when he came on the field.
That's not saying much when you talk about Terp special teams. I'm just saying.
Touche.
Anyway, but look, we keep saying Sam Cook, right? Well, here's the deal. Sam Cook, he turns 40 in August. If he were to go, I think the final number, because we would still have some dead cap space hit to us, but the final number on us would be about 2.1 to 2.5, somewhere in there. I've heard both of them, but we're still talking over 2 million cap hit that would save. And this guy, Sam Cook, has played 256 games. That is a team record. I'm not saying his time's up like James is, but this just doesn't feel like Vedvik did.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Vedvik. It doesn't feel like they're gonna have a roster spot where you have 3 kickers on the team. I mean, kickers. I'm throwing punters and with Justin Tucker. Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel like. And obviously, we say stuff like this when we get to the point when we break down the roster right before the season, like who's gonna make, who's not. You're not gonna waste the spot. So,
especially you're gonna keep a 4th round pick on the
you're gonna,
unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, if you went in and spent the pick on him, that right there is already like the notch. Like he gets the heads up probably. I'm not as I'm fine with Cook being here, but you're saving money. He isn't a top punter in the league anymore. And from what I could hear and see from this kid already, it feels like the Justin Tucker of punters, like as in come right out the gate, be impactful right away at what he does, and be like kind of like that youthful exuberance. Like he sounded in like the interview like Justin Tucker a little bit.
So the other,
if you heard the interview, maybe I'm wrong. That's how I kind of felt. Like.
The other thing with him though too is when you're talking about his ability to pin, right, and you're talking about the technical aspect. One of the things we were so high on. We've always been so high on with Sam Cook is his ability to pin teams, to be technical, to be have the right placement. Well, to James's point, the past year and a half, we've all said it at one point or another that it's like Cook's a little off.
Yeah.
He's not pinning guys like he used to. We've seen him put some kicks out of bounds. So it's one of those things that it's just wow. We saw it on some of the in some of the games where the announcers were going, that's not like Sam Cook. That's not like him, and it hasn't been. So that's one of the things you got to kind of take a step back and look. And I'm not saying that it's time for Sam Cook to go. I'm not. Sam Cook is still serviceable. I just think they may be looking and saying, let's get this guy on here now. And I don't think they'll carry 3. But maybe they do.
I mean, unless this kid's technically like redshirting and he gives up Sam Cook gives up the holder job and he's a holder. But like I just
bona fide holder.
You know what I mean? Like
Sam Cook is going to make his transition to the third backup quarterback.
There you go.
There you go. You go play on the practice
like
squad.
I said, like if you're getting a $2 million cap savings in it, that's you're going to need depth at pass rush, a wide receiver. That's where you spend the money at that point.
Yeah. To me. Well, we'll get into that. We'll figure it out.
I mean,
we'll see what happens,
I don't want to. I'm not pushing Sam out, but at the same time, like I'm not sitting here advocating for not making the switch.
It just feels different compared to other times when we've seen them get a kicker, whether it's through the 7th round. Like I think Vedrick was a 7th rounder.
I thought he was undrafted.
He was undrafted. Okay. I think maybe they were saying that we thought we was going to take him.
Became Calais Campbell.
Yeah, then he turned into Calais Campbell.
Sam Cook is definitely gone. I'm telling you, if you're drafting this guy in the 4th round,
which is why I'm kind of leaning to the fact that I do think you're right.
No, I
think
Sam
it's a 4th round. I get it. Look, trust me, James. We get what you're saying. The whole
love's coming out. The love. I need this guy. He's been around for so long. I can't see him go. It's.
There's value. You always have to remember. There's value in experience.
Experience of what? Kicking out of bounds? I can kick out of bounds. He killed us in a lot of games last year. A lot of games.
As somebody was saying, you're using your pick. You're taking him out, and that means you lose your best passer rating. So what are you going to
do? Like I said, he could be the 3rd string quarterback. You go on the practice squad, hang out, throw some.
All right, let's get to that number 39 pick. So they went ahead and got another tight end. This is one that I liked more. I knew a little more than the other tight end, but they went and got tight end Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
Big guy, big. I mean, he might be, like we're talking about Kohler and him, maybe being wide receivers even. Like that could be a possibility down the road, but like just another big guy. So he caught 59 passes and for 912 yards and 12 touchdowns in his final season. And he was named to the 2021 FWAA second team All-American. Not something to like just shake your head at. Like,
not a bad resume there.
It's a pretty good resume. I mean, I would say that it's a little bit unlikely that maybe they both make the team. I'm not saying it is like 100% chance that one of them's getting cut.
Yeah,
but that's the point when you get to this 4th round and like when you had 6 picks. Double dipping at a position, at tight end, for a team like this, it doesn't seem like it's a complete wash for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's still intriguing to draft a guy that pedigree.
No, and here's the deal: if you do put him on the practice squad and you pick him up, I believe we get a compensation. We would get a compensation pick for him. So it's. I don't want to say it's no harm, no foul, but at the same time, you're not going to carry that many tight ends. So either he needs to make a transition. Again, another guy that should be knocking on John Harbaugh's door. Hey, can you show me where the special teams room is, please?
Special teams coach at because hey, we love it.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's bad that we're saying that, but it's the truth. If you are willing to do things on special teams, you have John Harbaugh's attention. Period. And when you have his attention, you're getting more looks than some other guys. So it's one of those things that, again, he could, to your point, he's big bodied that he could wind up, he could be a goal line wide receiver-esque, type guy. he'd have to lose a little bit of weight if you're going to do that. I think he's more of that physical blocking type. But again, both of these guys have a very similar style build. So because of that, it tells me they were focused on one thing, and that is you need a mixture of Pat Ricard and Nick Boyle.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also the thing, like I didn't really put 2 and 2 together until I heard something yesterday. It's like, it's also funny how like their like history with like tight ends. It's like the second tight end when they double dip at tight end in the draft. It's like the second guy is the one has more of a profile because Pitta came after Dixon. He was way better than Dixon. Andrews came after Hurst. Hurst is, became J.K. Dobbins, and now you got a situation like this. Not saying it's gonna happen, but they've had that track record where that could be a diamond in the rough. I mean, at this point in the draft, no sugarcoating it. Like that's what these guys are. They're either developmental pieces or depth pieces.
Yep. It's simple as that. And if they're developmental, most of the time they're going to work their way in the practice squad. You just better hope that you see that more in the practice squad and not put them in. If you really think this guy could be good, he's just not there yet, don't put him in the preseason games.
Yeah.
Don't, because at that point, somebody could see something, he goes off, he has a good game. You can't put him on the practice squad now.
Yeah, I'm going to be dreading preseason just in general because, like that aspect, injury thing again still kind of has that cloud. Like get rid of the preseason.
Again, 3 picks later, really actually technically 2 picks later, 2 picks later, they go and get another depth piece here. Demarion Williams out of Houston, the cornerback out of Houston. Again, secondary depth piece here. This guy played 13 games at DB, tied for second on the team in total tackles. Has my attention. We have struggles with wrapping guys up.
Yep.
Bring in a sure tackler like him. I like it. He's not big on the stat sheet elsewhere, but he is on tackles. Means he's got good technique, good form. So I'm liking it. That's a piece developmental. Put a little bit more to him. Working on route coverage, things like that. Maybe he plays up in the box a little bit more. Maybe he's the guy that you have covering the slant. Maybe you can let him float in a little bit more if you're going to play a zone scheme. He's a guy that can play a little bit better of his own versus trying to keep with a guy. So there's a lot of things here to look at with him. And this guy was also second on the team in pass breakups. He had 8 last season.
Yeah, and then so in bringing that up, it brings me full circle the whole thing, like adding Kyle Hamilton topic back to the nature. Like last year, it's no secret that like we just were not taking the ball away, not like pass blocking was. I mean, wasn't even there. Like getting back to that, like the moves they made in this draft, give me promise of being able to get back to that.
Yeah,
defense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The depth that they got out of this draft, which we said from the get-go, this was a defensive-heavy draft, period, especially in the first several rounds. But even as Chibbs was on, last week, he was talking about the fact that the 55 to 85, and really even beyond that, even to 120, I think he said 120 at one point, it was a lot of pieces that were more than serviceable and could be, second, third, fourth string type guys. And that's really what we saw. And we see them get some of these guys that maybe could be the fourth string bubble practice guys, depending on how they play, depending on what their skill set comes in. There's a lot of question marks. And if these guys can outshine some of the guys that have been around a little bit, somebody makes a big splash in preseason over Ardarius Washington, or which I don't think will happen, but over a guy like Kayvon Seymour. Kayvon Seymour might not have a spot even on the practice squad.
Yeah, he'd have to really. Yeah,
the fact that he knows the defense would be great if Wink was still here.
Yeah,
this is a new defense now, at least we think. So, with that being said, it's going to be interesting. And you talked about Kyle Hamilton, the video of him. They showed John Harbaugh showing him and his family the book that him and Mike McDonald have already come up with. And he was like, see all these pages are things that we're going to refine and play around with and have different secondary ideas too. Like, and he's like, you think you can handle a book this big? I was sitting there looking at that book going, I never read a book that thick in college. Like, it's crazy. But then finally, obviously nothing in the 5th round, finally in the 6th round, 196th pick. We said that they would do this somewhere in the draft, and they did.
Doesn't shock me, and I actually really like it.
They go and get running back Tyler Batty out of Missouri. The kid's 5'8", 190 pounds. Little light here.
Yeah, a little
needs to put on a little bit of weight.
We'll see what happens once you get to the camps and stuff.
And then This is a kid that just, you're talking about the stat sheet. 6th round guy. With what he did, I understand the competition he played against was a little different. But this guy set Missouri's single season rushing yard record with 604 yards.
It's in the SEC.
Again, a point, right? Scored 14 rushing touchdowns on 268 carries. Team high 54 receptions for 330 yards and 4 TDs. This guy is a piece. Right now, it's Gus and JK. You're leaning on them heavy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that they've had interest in the free agent market with a running back. But here's the deal. One of those two guys somehow starts on the PUP list. Doesn't quite start the season. And I'm going to knock on wood because I hope that's not the case.
I know.
But if it were to happen, here's your fill-in.
Yeah,
right here.
Definitely. He could steal somebody's job, be honest with you.
Darren Sproles.
I really think.
You think he's Darren Sproles-esque?
Oh, yeah. This guy's the same size almost. That's a Darren Sproles. I don't think he's, starting day one. I think he's special teams for sure. But this guy could be somebody.
He's going to be a better Justice Hill.
That's what I was saying. One way or the other, we know we don't have to worry about Justice Hill being here.
We don't care. We know. I'm going to put it right now. Justice Hill, he's gone.
He is gone. He's gone.
He's gone.
We don't have to worry about it.
He should be gone last year, but injuries happened, then he got hurt.
Well, they released him, right?
No, he's still
on there.
Because he still had a deal. No, he still had a deal.
He's still on.
I swore they had released him.
$100 on it?
That one I'm not as confident about.
Shit.
This is a 6th round guy we're talking about. But no, so yeah, I think overall, I want to take a minute and we're going to rate the draft as a whole in a minute when we go over a few other things. But I would venture to say that pick-wise, I was fairly happy. A few surprises, mixed in there. A few things that I was like, I would have maybe liked this way. But it didn't shake out too bad as far as I'm concerned. And again, we'll get into grades in a little bit. So when you look at this, we did get the jersey numbers for a lot of these guys. So the rookies, Armour Davis goes with 5. Stout goes with 11. Hamilton gets the number 14. Thank God that number is no longer on the offensive side of the ball. Williams with 22. Beatty with 30. Linderbaum going with 64. I like Falele with 77. I just like the repetition in that jersey. I might have to get a Falele jersey. You got Likely at 80. Kohler at 88. Ajabo at 90 and Jones at 98.
And don't get out of these jerseys because they sure as hell will change if anything's
just
recent track record lately.
Just like James Prochet, he's no longer going to be 11. Stout's going to be 11, so Prochet's going 3.
Yep.
Interesting. 3's there because I bet you 4 is taken for now. Kayvon Seymour at 25 with 25 and
who?
Ben Mason.
Who?
Ben Mason. I don't know why the hell he's here. Why are we giving him a jersey
38.
number?
That's Ryan's favorite number, too.
Can we just give him a dash?
That'd be hilarious if that was Ryan's favorite number. Oh, I would lose my shit.
that would be hilarious.
Oh, man.
All right, so we've avoided one topic that I know is going to take us a little bit to get through. We've already been on the Ravens for an hour, boys, but this one we could probably go on for another hour, but we're going to keep it short. The Hollywood Brown trade. That trade back in to get into that number 25. Really, it was originally 23 spot. Then we trade back 2 spots additionally. So the Ravens trade and send Brown to the Arizona Cardinals along with the third pick, number 100, for their first overall pick, which was 23. The Ravens then trade down to 25, get Linderbaum, and I think they picked up 4th rounder next year.
They picked up a 4th rounder in this one in the Bills trade.
Was it? Okay. So the Ravens then use the first round 25th overall pick on Brown, and he was a 25th overall pick in 2019. You get 3 years out of him. Then his contract obviously is due. He's not happy. He was obviously also recognized he wasn't going to get fair market value for himself down the road if he kept in this offense. He's not happy with it. We heard about that. We heard post day one, EDC did address it, and he said, Hollywood came to me. It was hard. Hollywood was his first pick.
Yeah, I mean, think of that. I didn't even really think of that.
And that's got to be hard, right? Your first ever pick coming to you and going, I'm not happy being here.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going, all right, well, I got to figure out what to do. This is one area that I think the players have a little bit too much control in the draft.
Yeah, you said stuff like that before.
You have a contract, play it. But at the same time, you know, you got to get your value for them while you can. So the value's high, and you work with Arizona. Now, the interesting thing here, this has apparently been worked out for a few weeks.
So crazy. Like, yeah, it's been worked out. Like, it's just the fact that, like, he asked for the trade after the season, and you didn't hear anything about it.
No, you didn't hear one word from that.
Goddamn, every day for the last 2 weeks, every other day, either Debo or somebody has brought something to light with Debo in this whole trade from the 49ers, but yet Hollywood somehow goes under the radar for months.
You have all the issues there. How did this, with all the issues in Arizona and the leaks in Arizona and the problems in Arizona, how did this shit not leak out of Arizona? Right? And so whatever happened here, however they did it, this is impressive that nobody broke, because they talked to Lamar about it. Because they had to let him know, look, we've got to give him, you know, something. We want to get something for him. He's not going to be here next year. They had to talk to him about it. Hollywood had said he had talked to him about it. The fact that he was there before they announced the trade, he was on stage. So before it was publicly announced, it was announced at Arizona's draft party right before.
Yeah.
So just the craziness of that scenario, that it doesn't then leak out that quickly that everybody's like, oh, this is a trade, and Hollywood's here. No, we all were sitting around for like 3 minutes trying to figure out who the hell went where, like what's going on. And then it was the jaw-dropping moment of recognizing that Antonio Brown wasn't going to be a Raven, and we're all sitting there scratching our heads. But
But Marquise Brown wasn't going to be a Raven.
What'd I say?
You said Antonio Brown. Let's not talk that into existence.
Like that drop for Nick Short?
One of his guys, I mean, one of his, someone who got on a limb for him isn't here anymore, so that's already a good.
Yeah, right. But no, I think one of the things that you look at with Marquise Brown, him not being here, you know, obviously he wasn't happy. The Ravens got something for him, and they were able to go back in and get an impactful center, right? And I get people are going, we traded this guy for this. He wasn't happy. You buyed yourself into a situation where he says, you guys didn't even make an effort. I'm done.
Yeah. So mine. I have points all over the map on this thing. Like you went and like I think someone used, and I can remember what car they actually. You went and like you had a BMW and used the hell out of it for 3 years, and then traded in and got another BMW like brand new. Because that's basically what you did. You traded him. He was a first round pick. You trade it, and it ends up basically being the same first-round pick a few years later. But it's a lot of things like how many times did, like, we as fans, like, I called him. He's the Riddler. I feel better with him here. It's funny as I like him, but he's so frustrating. That's why I called him the Riddler, because I don't dislike him. I do like him as a player, but it was so frustrating with the drops and all that stuff. So I've seen it all over the map with Ravens fans with this trade. Like, how many times did we hear, like, we want this guy out, and then when he's out, like, we're blown away? Or, like, and even some negativity towards him, even though I think he handled it well, because, like I said, it was quiet on his front and the Ravens front all this time. Is it that Player Show podcast or whatever Fred's always talking about?
Yeah, I Am Athlete.
Yeah. Like
he went on there and made the first interview.
He said it like as politely and like matter of factly and no swagger about it, just like, look, this system didn't fit me anymore.
I wasn't being used.
I wasn't, which is I'm gonna get there. So I wasn't being used, and I wanted to change the scenery. And it's just like I said, how many times, like I already said, you got a Debo Samuel, you got a Hollywood. The way Hollywood handle it, I'll take that guy any day.
Yeah.
Now my problem becomes with I think it's a low hanging fruit, but I get that like that would be his feeling, and that would be the feeling amongst fans as a wide receiver of his nature, or any top wide receiver for that matter, wouldn't fit this system that we always talk about, and wouldn't fit Greg Roman. We want Greg Roman gone, and I get all that shit. Like I said, he said it nicely, but I kind of like laughed to hear him say, the system didn't fit me, when you got force-fed the ball your whole time here.
And
by
you
the quarterback.
you still had drops, and
You know what I mean?
so
he had a
the
lot
oth-
of amazing moments too. Like,
He did, not to take away from that.
That's
And-
why I'm always so torn on the guy. Like I liked him having him here, but I was so frustrated by him.
And I thought it was interesting. So I don't know. Did you see what Steve Smith had to say about Hollywood and this whole situation after he came out?
Yeah.
So if you guys
I
didn't
did.
hear it, Steve Smith, obviously former Raven, knows what it is to be a Raven, and honestly, build wise, isn't far off or wasn't far off from Hollywood. He obviously was a little bit wider than Hollywood,
Yeah.
and he was a little bit more physical than Hollywood was. I shouldn't say a little bit more. He was a lot more physical than
Yeah.
Hollywood was. But that's what his knock was on Hollywood. He's like, you're never going to be a top-tier wide receiver because you get in front of guys and fall down.
Yeah.
And I was like, praise the
you
Lord.
Need you need the
we've
motion
said
to
that.
get the
We've said that for time and time again, that at times he would catch the ball and just drop to the ground.
Yeah.
So on one side, yes, it does suck because now you're sitting here going, okay, Rashad number 1, or number 2-ish if you're putting Andrews as your number 1 wide receiver. But no, this whole thing you kind of had you scratching your head. Now we're going to find out how good Hollywood thinks he is and how good Hollywood actually is. Because you have the fact that Hollywood is now, after the news that broke on Monday, he's now potentially wide receiver 1 in Arizona.
That's crazy.
We're gonna get into the 2-minute warning about exactly what happened, but basically DeAndre Hopkins gets popped for PEDs. He's missing the first 6 games. I'm sure there'll be an appeal. It might drop down to 5, but
he swears he didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. It wasn't me.
I didn't stick it in my wife either. I mean, what do you want me to do? The kid just popped out. No, but the whole thing here is just the fact that we're going to find out how good Hollywood thinks he is. You went to the guy that you like. He's your buddy, who's also similar in some senses, not all, similar in some senses to Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Scheming, obviously a little bit different. But even with DeAndre Hopkins, the top wide receiver in the game, Arizona didn't do a whole lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
You really think you're going to do that much more? Maybe with D-Hop there, maybe you take some pressure off of him. Maybe you get some more catches, some more touches that way. Okay.
Yeah, like you said,
D-Hop's gone
you're going
first
to
6
find
games.
out how your realness. You're going to find out if you're a top tier wide receiver.
And the Ravens, on the flip side of this, don't draft any wide receivers as a replacement. They do sign a few undrafted guys, which we're going to get into in a minute, but they don't sign any. None. Nobody to replace this guy. Okay. Whatever. But overall,
I mean, we'll get to those in later days. There's still time for the veterans and stuff. Like you said, you didn't get Steve Smith in March. You got him in the summer. You know what I mean?
It happens later.
Stuff like that
Exactly.
has happened. And like we already said, with like a Sam Cook, if that's a cut made, there's $2 million, and that's going to like Justin Houston or another pass rusher or a wide receiver.
By the way, what a crazy wide receiver offseason.
Jesus. All because the goddamn...
The Marquise Brown was traded, and we were all going, oh my God. And then we hear
5 minutes later,
A.J. Brown to the Eagles. What?
5 minutes after that, it was like, hey, he's already got a deal signed. Like,
Right,
what?
exactly. You have Tyreek Hill as a Dolphin. You have Devontae Adams as a Raider. You have Allen Robinson as a Ram and Amari Cooper as a Brown. What the hell is going on in the wide receiver rooms this year?
Jacksonville giving Christian Kirk, everyone's blaming Christian Kirk and the Jacksons for it.
I'll tell you what, it's just crazy. Before
These
we
guys, that would have had, like, a lot of people have used that as a stepping stone. Like, I kind of get, like, how all these stones have fallen after like that signing with the Jacksonville and Kirk. These guys would have been asking for that. These
guys would have been way above it. It wouldn't matter.
Brown and Deebo Samuel would have been asking for deals soon enough. Same
Exactly.
with, like, all these guys would have been asking for up a deal eventually anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So undrafted guys, we talked about that. The Ravens have drafted a bunch of guys to this point, or signed a bunch of guys to the undrafted free agent market. Their signings as of Saturday night: Anthony Brown, the quarterback out of Oregon; Charles Wiley, linebacker out of UTSA; Jemiah Moon, the linebacker out of Florida; Ricky Person Jr., running back out of North Carolina State; Emeka Emezi, also a wide receiver out of North Carolina State; Denzel Williams, DB at Villanova; Zacoby McClain out of Auburn, the linebacker there; another linebacker out of Michigan, Josh Ross. Why do I think he's going to make the team? You've got Navy linebacker Dio Fajo, Aaron Johnson.
Diego Fajo. He got it. I was wondering, would you skip the B for a second? Like, Scott, don't do it.
It's not Fagot.
No, it's Fago.
It's Fago.
It's Fago.
Aaron Johnson.
Everybody say it now.
Offensive tackle out of San Diego State. Devin Williams, wide receiver out of Oregon. Trayvon Clark, wide receiver out of California. Rayshad Nichols, defensive lineman out of Stephen F. Austin. Chris Moore, not the same Chris Moore,
okay.
But he is a DB, a safety. Well, Chris Moore's a wide receiver. He's a safety out of Georgia State. Mekhi Polk, wide receiver out of Mississippi State, and Slade Bolden, wide receiver out of Alabama. That is the intriguing one that he dropped that far and fell out of the draft completely. So interesting there. And then Trey Ford, quarterback out of Waterloo, gets a rookie minicamp invite
with Napoleon.
Yeah.
Does Napoleon Bonaparte come with him?
Sure. He can come with him. Overall, you look at the all-pro draft rates that these guys got with their drafting and what we've done over the past several years. I think this was from 20. So draftees since 2012 selected as first-team all-pro at least once, and these are courtesy of Pro Football Reference. The low end of it, of the top, what is that, top 10, looks like, or top 8? Top nine. So of the top 9 teams, the low end, 4.3% of all draftees make it to all pro. That's the Tampa Bay Bucks at 4.3. The Ravens top the list at 6.6.
I know a thing or two about building in the draft.
Think about how many draft picks we've had.
Mm-hmm.
That's the more impressive part. When you look at it, especially the past several years, how they've stacked draft picks. The more draft picks you have, the more likely you are to hit. Well, guess what? That statement's kind of proven true because the next one behind it is a team that doesn't. Who knows what the hell they do year to year, and that's the Cowboys at 6%.
Yeah,
and they're up there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you got to look at it. It's quite impressive. So obviously on draft night, we all gave our round 1 grades. As a recap, Fred gave a B+. I gave a B to B+. You gave an A-. You were the most generous of us.
Hey,
and the most stingy was James with a C+ over here. All because Trevor Penning wasn't picked.
It's not stingy. It's, it's facts.
So you're feeling like we did with Away last year. We weren't sold on Away. We weren't happy with Away. You aren't happy. Will you eat your words if these guys come out and make an impact day 1?
Don't say they won't. Just say that because we all did with Away.
3 years.
No, I'm saying if one or both of these guys come out and make an impact, if there's not a bad snap at center,
they should do it.
If there's a safety,
should make an impact day 1.
Okay.
Okay, so but I'm just saying, there were better players on the board.
All right. Okay. That filled a bigger need, to your point. Is that what you're going at? Okay.
That's like me saying, I got leaky windows. I'm going to go to the hardware store, go get a contractor, and get new windows. And I come home and say, wife, I didn't get the windows, but I got a brand new deck coming over, okay?
A big one.
And she's like, well, we still have leaky windows. I know, but I got a hell of a deal on a deck.
This deck is bigger than Scott's, so...
Fuck off, guys.
I just don't get. But that's how the Ravens are. They always go for the best available player. It's just sometimes you got to change up and select what we need.
All right. I get what you're saying. So some of the writers. So overall grades. Well, I'm going to give you some of the writers and pundits first. One friend of the show. Actually, we're going to skip his first because he's the interesting one. Pete Prisco from CBS gave him an A+. He said the worst pick, Fred and Ryan are going to hate this. Worst pick was 4th round tackle. Daniel Falele is a massive man, but does not have the foot speed to hold it up in the NFL. But it's hard to argue with what they've done drafting offensive linemen in the past, though. So he gives a little bit of a nod, a little bit of head crack. But he gave him an A+. Chris Trapasso.
That's one of those things where whatever his article, I'm sure he gave an article for it was a bit for every team. That's one of those things where you give a grade, but then if it's a high grade, well, I gotta say something negative. If it was something where give him a D, but they did get Jameson Williams, something like that.
I understand that, but if you're going to put this and mark him down, it should be at least an A- or A. You can't give it A+. A+, it's perfect. It's a perfect fucking draft. And this guy's like, oh, well, they could have got blah, blah, blah. No, you give me a fucking A+, just leave it at that. Don't be like, well, the lineman.
Yeah, you can't
in all of the teams, he did give their best pick and their worst pick. So it's subjective. Like, worst pick is good, but he didn't go in and say they should have gone this route.
He did say
like
it should have been Trevor Penning. I saw that in his article.
Chris Trapasso, also from CBS, he gave a B+, and he's the one that you guys may have seen this. Over the weekend, he tweeted out, "I want to marry this Ravens draft." Which should give you a sense of how I felt. Soon thereafter, they drafted a punter in round 4, which I didn't love. But now that the draft is over, I still have a deep adoration for what Baltimore did. Kyle Hamilton was his number 1 prospect. Ajabo was a tremendous stash. Charlie Kohler gave him Mark Andrew vibes on film. Daniel Falele is an Orlando Brown type. Jalen Armour-Davis has number 1 CB abilities, but no receiver. So that's why he gave the B+. Now, the friend of the show, KZ, Ken Zales, he gave his grade. His grade is an F+. And his statement, I'm sorry, if you draft a kicker or punter at any point, you get an F from KZ. Those are the rules. No matter how much I like the draft, they get the plus because they bring Tyler Batty from Quaker Nation home.
Satirical, completely satirical.
It is. And if you know KZ, if you listen to his stuff,
trust me, I did the double take because I saw it in our outline. Like, what the? Why is this on our outline? Oh, okay.
It is KZ.
Let me read this again.
But let's take a second. I want you guys to give me your overalls, and I'll start with Fred because he's not here. I asked him to text me. He did say his overall draft grade for them is an A. He thinks while they didn't hit all the things that he thought they did, the players that they walked away with, you can't. There wasn't a player that we were going at the end of the draft. Definitely shouldn't have drafted him. There wasn't any of those players. Maybe we should have held back, or we could have, right? But ultimately, he was happy with everyone that we picked because either it was best player available and you couldn't pass him up, or it did fill a need, and it was somebody that we were looking at prior to the draft. So that's where he stands. Where do you stand?
I mean, I gave him an A. I can get the holes you could see and there's a couple of needs still there. I mean, you're hoping Ajabo fills that pass rush need, so I guess you didn't go get another backup plan at pass rush and the wide receiver. I get that. But to me, trading away Hollywood doesn't mean go get, you know what I mean? That didn't scream, well, if I'm trading him away, I should go get a Sky Moore or something like that, to completely replace that production, that guy. But I look at it as a whole, okay, Kyle Hamilton is a luxury, but it was the best player available. And
nobody was calling.
And I'm super intrigued about what they'll do with him. I said it on draft night. In my mind, as a fan, I mean, you might not like it, but then if you're going to sit here and talk about go protect Lamar, getting the top center in the league, and then coming back around later on and getting a guy that a lot of people are high on, Falele, where you got him at a value. You know what I mean?
Huge value.
You went and got the protection for Lamar, so you filled a need there. Down the road, double dipping in the 4th round for two cornerbacks. There's cornerback depth. We were talking about cornerback depth.
That screwed us last year.
It screwed us royally. And, you could go high, and that didn't work out, but let's see what they do with that. So that's another need that you sat there and got. Maybe tight end's a luxury, but I've heard from fans enough. You need another move tight end to replace that Hurst type of role. Maybe one of these guys are that. You know what I mean? That's the plan. I'm like I said, huge on Travis Jones. I like the gamble on Ajabo. I mean, it is, if there is worry there, you're not going to not say it isn't, but I also, like I said, they're not going to rush he's not starting on week 1. They're not going to rush him on the field just if he was ready on November 1st. It doesn't mean he's in a starting role November 1st. But if that guy pans out, you got a first-round talent in the 3rd round. Your first 3 picks were second round. Your first 3 picks were guys that at different times close to the draft, before his injury, were all mocked to you. We're all experts thinking you would
They were mocked top 20 picks, period.
So and I know I'm just going over everything again, but getting another running back, that means all that we talked about with getting Justice Hill gone there, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I I see the drop a little bit maybe because you didn't add some kind of wide receiver, but at the same time, I can't see us fill all these needs and me to just sit there and say it's a B. Like last year, there was a lot of Bs because it was like, why did you draft that guy? You know, I like Stevens, but he's a project, and you know, wasting a pick on like Mason or whatever, and maybe you're worried about Cleveland panning out, whatever. Like there were a lot more head scratchers then than now, and there was a lot. You had 11 picks to make. You might not like the 6 fourth-round picks, but it's just me for it's an A again because it covered a lot of needs, even though you didn't reach for a need in my mind.
Fair enough. All right, James, what do you give this one?
After all, I gave it a B.
Okay.
Went from my C plus to a B.
So 2 notches on the belt.
Our needs were corner and pass rusher, and we didn't address that until, I guess, free agent now for a pass rusher. Hopefully, they're going to sign Houston, bring him in. He's a good locker room. We can get him for a good price. We save some money. Wide receivers, I don't care. We don't select good wide receivers. I heard that they were going to select Williams if he was there, but he got selected by Detroit. And, like, the picture of him holding up his jersey was like, he was like, I'm in fucking Detroit. Are you fucking serious? So I feel bad for him. Like I said, I was happy with day 2 of the draft. We got a lot of guys that could be Pro Bowlers in like 1 or 2 years. They fit the system. Like I'm happy with it, but to get an A, it needs to be address what we need, and the Ravens will never do that unless that's the best guy on their board. And it just sucked, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with everything, and the punter helps. And not because he was a Penn State. We needed it because
everything else kept it a C plus. Getting a punter,
I thought it, like punter wasn't going to come out somehow. Like, let me know.
But not because he's from Penn State, but it's a need. Like that is a big part of the game, having a good punter. Like all the new punters out there, they have techniques, how they drop the ball, how they put the spin. It's not about you just hike the ball and fucking just pound it down the fucking field. It's a technique. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm happy with it, and we'll see more why this was a good pick.
I'm just going to say it's really funny hearing you talk like that, considering you're the guy that was sitting here saying, we shouldn't need a punter. We shouldn't need a kicker. About 3 months ago, that was you.
When you have a Pro Bowl kicker that we don't use, you need it. Like we could have traded him away for like 5 first-round picks.
I got you. All right. So for me, I look at this, and I'm not far off from what you're saying, Drew. I gave it overall a B plus. Getting the kicker and getting the punter late or in the 4th round, I think I would have liked to see that later, not necessarily wasting a 4th-round pick on that. The fact that we did lose our number 1 wide receiver, but, we don't have a replacement, but maybe that could be, I know that some people are chiming in, maybe that could be Bateman. Bateman could fill in that role and potentially be better in that role.
I mean, you drafted him. You know what I mean? Like, if you drafted a wide receiver in the 1st round,
you also have Prochet and Duvernay that are making steps, so they could fill in where Bateman was. There's a lot of different things that can roll into play here. And for me, that's what it comes down to. My big issue, and I'm really surprised that you didn't bring it up as much, the reason I didn't go there was because we were hearing, yes, everything when it came to Linderbaum was good. It was really good. But Jermaine Johnson was on the board.
Yeah.
This guy at one point was projected to be a top 10 pick.
Was why. I mean, that was
when he fell to 25.
I gave him A minus on draft night because at that time. I did.
Yeah, but I'm like, to give him up. Little surprised they don't make something work with Devontae Wyatt. Little surprised they you don't go after George Karlaftis, and I get all those guys went later in the 1st round. But I'm really surprised that we didn't package a few of those guys, come up and get one of those guys, and go ahead and turn around and sell Hollywood and get the pick in Linderbaum if you were that sold on it. And maybe, who knows? Maybe they were. Maybe the value just wasn't there. The pick, somebody didn't just do it. But
I just want to say this Mark 2K6, I guess he's like a 2K player or whatever. I guarantee he's probably one of those guys that play fantasy football that when he's looking at his computer, he picks the best available player on there, and then at the end of the draft, he looks at it and sees his grades at A+ because he always takes the best available player
Mr.
on
Fantasy
the list.
Football Magazines over here is talking about somebody else with fantasy football.
No, but the
Gotta
way-
give you some shit,
8
man.
running backs in the redraft league.
Yeah. So one of the things that somebody said Tylan Wallace is a more physical version of Hollywood.
See, that was my thing, like, too, with the whole, like, drafting a wide receiver and, you know, being so upset as a fan base about that. How many times over this last couple years where you're like, give Duvernay a shot, give Prochet a shot. Now, like, Wallace, like, why don't we see these guys getting snaps? Oh, I saw Prochet. He caught a pass in the second quarter for a first down, and then you never saw him again. Well, now they have a shot. Like, now, you know what I mean? Like, not going and investing in high capital, it gives these guys a shot. They drafted them to play at some point. Well, now here's that some point.
Yeah.
And it goes back to me. It's like I said on draft night, and as big as a Lamar fan as I am, you're a franchise quarterback. You make the weapons.
Yeah.
At some point, that's the deal.
I stand by what I said though with the pick here of Jermaine Johnson, right? Because I get a Jabu top tier guy, but if we're gonna talk about it, we've been mentioning it. We're talking about a guy who played SEC versus a guy who played in the Big Ten.
Got to correct you. He couldn't make it on the Georgia team, so he played ACC last year. And that was
right.
that was kind of the thing. That was kind of like what Ryan was pointing out. Like, maybe he's just dropping because they say, like, you couldn't cut it at Georgia. And yeah,
then
you
look
put
what
up
Georgia
great
did without
numbers,
you.
but it's ACC. Like, ACC's
Fair enough.
down compared.
Georgia did have, 5 players in the first round?
Yeah, something like you can't really.
You
I
can't
think
knock
they had
that.
15 total.
By the way, did you see the Texas Longhorns?
None.
0 guys drafted in the entire draft.
Yeah, McConaughey's unhappy about that. I saw him.
That's got to be. I mean, that piece could be debilitating to.
I mean, they debilitating to themselves. They
That's
can't
true.
get out of their own
That's
way.
true. They can't get out of their own
Last
way.
like 5 years plus.
Well, you mentioned Justin Houston. We'll go ahead and mention that before we move on. But they do tender him as an undrafted free agent. Now, the undrafted free agent tender is rarely used. It was last used by the Giants in 2020. And I forget who it was that they used it on. But if a player signs with a new team before July 22nd or the first day of training camp, whichever's later, the signings would count towards the NFL's compensatory formula. So if he signs somewhere else, we gain a compensatory pick by tendering him. But on the flip side of that, if he doesn't sign by the deadline, we retain the right to negotiate at 110% of his 2021 salary. His last year's salary was $1,075,000. The rest of it was that signing bonus. That was the rest of the salary cap hit. So now you've got him. You could walk away with Justin Houston at 1.1825. So for just under $1.2 million, you get Justin Houston. Everybody's like, well, he didn't do that much. Check these things out. He's 33 years old. He had 4.5 sacks last season in 15 games, right? His sack production, yes, it's been decreasing the past 2 seasons, but he's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He played better than the sack numbers indicate because he had 17 quarterback hits, which led the team. That's impressive. For a guy that on all the other stats, we're talking about sacks, he got to the quarterback.
Yeah.
That was his job. That's why you brought him there. You brought him in to put pressure on the quarterback. No, you didn't get him getting the quarterback before the ball goes out. But you're still getting
quite
it
a lot of games where you're like, damn, he's getting there. Like you were like, he's
also
gonna break this game open in the third quarter.
He
Wow.
also last year made NFL history by being the 39th player with 100 career sacks. He has 102. He's tied for the 4th most in the league since he entered in 2011. So these are all great numbers. My thing is, what does this move of tendering him tell you about their value of him, how they value him? They value him enough to take the risk, but also get the reward if he signs elsewhere.
And even then, it's a low risk.
It's low risk.
Low risk.
High reward.
Like, just think like this doesn't, because this is completely like, I was already thinking like, yeah, Houston's probably going to come back, but it's going to be one of those things you wait till July and August. And
I'd have been fine if they waited until July and August and signed him to a 1-year, $2 million deal.
I didn't even know this existed. And I'm like,
it's because
this
it's
is win-win. Like
it's
one way or the other.
rarely used for guys like these because usually it's already worked out.
Because look at it this way. I mean, I don't say I'm going to speak for him, but maybe in his mind, like last year, you went all the way until almost August, and that's when you signed with the Ravens. Like, it's almost the same situation, but now you have this backup in place where, like, look, one way or the other, the Ravens want me. Like,
So,
I
exactly.
have somewhere to go.
And that's the thing. I think Houston came to him and said, I'm not getting much discussion.
like, I'm probably not going to sign when I
I
wanna sign
don't
with you.
I don't know where it is. Can you guys know? And they're probably going, look, we want to have you here, but we don't know where we're going to be at to offer you a big contract. So what we can do is unrestricted free agent tender you, and it'll put you'll obviously get an increase over what you got this year, but it's not going to be, we're not going to guarantee you, $2 million.
Yeah.
And he probably said, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is a guy that he was happy to be here. He said he wanted to be here. And now with Calais coming back, he wants to be here. You know that they want to take this veteran front and really play. God, being able to get with some of these rookies,
Yeah.
like these guys are probably going, this is where I belong.
Yep.
Right? And it also gives them a chance, getting all these guys, getting the depth, getting your primary guys back on offense and defense. These guys are probably going, I'd really love to see what this team could do with a healthy team.
Yeah.
They're probably thinking it just as we
Yeah,
are,
think
just
of
as
that,
we
yeah.
did.
He comes
So,
in, by the time he gets into the thick of things, some of the guys are already gone. The next thing you know, halfway through the season.
If he's gone, you still get something out of it
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
You're going to get production out of it either way,
Yeah, it's
whether it's
win-win
now
to
or
me.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
win-win.
big piece there. So, all right. James, let's do a quick social media shout out. Who we got?
There ain't nothing quick when I'm behind the mic because everybody wants to come after me. I'm here. I'm here. I ain't going nowhere.
We don't have a Fred had the cam from when he did the show and
I
tell.
know, this
He
is-
wasn't feeling good, so we don't have a cam
Such a
on
shame.
James. So I wish we should have had James just sit over here tonight.
Nah, but everybody's been in the chat. Really appreciate it. And thanks for everybody watching the draft with us and supporting us. I really appreciate it. So we're going to go with William Sable with the first shout out.
I saw him.
Of the thing. Nick Short, Joe Corlozo, Chuck Summer, Garnett, Dave, Sharon Sherry, Vinny, Jacob, Travis, Abib, Ciron, Joshua, Flock, Marcus 2K6 or 2K2, whatever you want to be. I'll see you in a couple months from now. Marquise, Rick, Nate 7, Alex, and Sean. So
Appreciate it, Mark
everybody's
2K6. He says,
Everybody's
"Great
been chatting in. Thank you. And I so can't wait to see you guys. I wish I could see your faces when you guys say, you know what, James, you're actually right.
This is going to be interesting.
Man, I can't-
All right. Well,
Come
we don't.
on, August.
We don't have like a true brew of the week anymore for a little while, for at least for right now. But what do you got over there? What are you
Well,
shipping on? What's your fuel
Of
for
course,
tonight?
Good old my buddy,
Oh.
Stone Cold. That started off with. I think did we do this the other day? I
think when Fred had it, yeah.
But the lactose simplicity. It's so many words. A big.
If
word.
you're not a
It's
big
word.
IPA fan,
It's not bad.
The milkshake IPAs are the way to go because they're not as strong, they're not as heavy.
Yeah.
Tend to have a little bit more of a of an undertone of fruit or whatever you're using for them, or the ice cream. So they're actually usually pretty good. I kept it simple tonight, gentlemen. I've had one shot so far. I guess I need to probably do another one of American Honey at this point, and some Bud Light Platinums. Just some little woo.
Oh my God!
Fail. I can't even do it.
I mean, it's not
I
as
can't
bad
even
as
do
that
it.
one day. When I
No,
spilled
it's not as
half
bad
a
as the one
beer.
day. Yeah. You
Well,
can't
mine-
talk about spilling
mine
beer.
wasn't on the table near all the equipment and shit. So
Anyway, all right. So obviously, make sure you join us each week. Let us know what you guys are drinking on, what's fueling you for the evening. And we are looking for another sponsorship. So if you happen to know a liquor sponsor, send them our way, or any sponsor for that matter. We're looking for an additional sponsor, so send them our way. Again, we appreciate all of you guys that tuned in for the draft and tuned in for everything that we've done. Bio.link /BirdlandBS. You can check out all of our pages there. All of our social media pages, YouTube, everything. We added for the draft this year. We added the Cash App and the Venmo. For those of you that have asked us about donations in the past and do every few weeks, we tried to increase it this year and give you guys more of a platform to be able to do that because we appreciate it, and it comes right back into the show. And again, the draft raffle, we're giving away 3, not 1, not 2, but 3,
but
of
7
of the draft. Would you stop doing that? Jesus. He's just giving
these guys donate.
He's like Oprah. We're going to call Drew Oprah now. Did you see that shot?
That was good. These guys donated a lot of money. They
did. It was crazy.
Were just a lot of like, I'm going to one up you. And the next thing we know, we look up and someone donated $100. I'm like, what?
I would say it was literally right as we were going off. Joe Braun, appreciate it, brother. He gave us $100. He beat all y'all asses that night because he did it. He said, I'm waiting until they go off air and then I'll drop it. Boom.
Yeah.
Try beating me now. So if you guys do ever want to do it, even outside of the draft, bio.link /BirdlandBS. But we will be doing that draft raffle giveaway when Fred's here next week. He has all the names and everything. We want to make sure we had everybody that donated in there and eligible. So we'll have all that next week and we'll do the draft, or we'll do the raffle pick live on air, probably social media shout out section. We'll kind of see. So stay tuned for that. All right.
Oh, I've been dying for this.
This is a segment we haven't done in a few weeks.
This is first segment. I don't even give a crap about the rest of the Oriole part.
Yeah, right.
I do. It's just this guy.
The Orioles, they are down. They're down at the yard tonight. Did see them up before we came down. 7:30. They were up. I don't know where they're at now. So maybe James could give us a look on that. But they're 8-15 as of today. One of the things I did get to witness.
Bottom of the 6, and they're losing 5-2.
Oh man!
All right,
Zimmer
never
and
mind.
Colin came down to earth a little bit.
Well, it's probably the bullpen, to be honest. So on Friday, I got to see a baby bird make his debut.
Got to watch him.
I got to watch him live. I got some video of him warming up.
TV.
I got to see Kyle Bradish make his first MLB start on Friday. He went 6 innings, 3 runs on 5 hits, a walk, 2 strikeouts, 1 home run. Not the flashiest, but he did get out some good jams. He had his fastball working around 93 to 96, and the slider, the movement
good.
On the slider was good. He was, he was dotting anywhere from 83 to 87 with that slider.
Yeah.
He was good. But the problem with his outing, he was missing on some locations, and because he was missing, he wasn't missing by a lot. He was missing little bits here and there, but he was missing because he was trying to dot it too much.
Yeah.
Look, here's the deal, and this is something that I think they really need to explain to these young guys when you're coming up. Stop trying to dot the fastball on the black, because here's the deal. You haven't earned that.
Yeah.
You haven't earned that strike zone.
Especially in this one, because he was getting hosed even like in the first
Oh,
inning.
yeah, it was
like,
bad.
I mean, the first inning, I hadn't gotten to Fred's house yet, so I listened on the radio, so I didn't see it, obviously. But, like, Kevin Brown and Brett Hollander like didn't sugarcoat. Like, man, like there was 2 pitches where like they made it sound like that should have been called.
It was
a check
damn close.
swing that should have been called.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
That should have been called. But like it seemed like he was getting a little bit hosed, and I'm like, man, he might not go 3 innings. Shit, it's gonna really let me down. And then when I get to Fred's house, and he just got the hit that gave him 2 runs, I was like, oh,
you were
man.
worried about him getting out of the second inning.
And then it was like we were double dipping, so we had the game on the big screen and we had the draft on his laptop, and it was like maybe I stopped paying attention a little bit and more to the draft, and I look up and I'm like, man, this guy's retired.
It
like
got
6
quiet,
in a row.
but good quiet.
He's retired 9, like he retired like 11 in a row to finish off his outing. So
6 innings in your
just
first
felt
outing.
good. Like that's the guy. Like obviously, like more intriguing is Hall and Rodriguez. Like they're going to be the flamethrowers and that you expect. But this was a guy that I heard a lot from the scouts, from Sigma et al., especially like early on. So
He's
I started
sustained well.
So I
he doesn't have a lot of up and downs.
So obviously, like the outing that he just had, I loved it. Yeah, like a quality start in his first. Like I mean, even as good as
get
like
the win, but
even as good as starting pitching has been from Zimmerman to even Watkins and Ballman and the guys when they start, it's like, yeah, but they went 5 innings, 4 or 5 innings like, by design, but still like
he wasn't blowing guys away and getting the Ks, but he only gave up 1
pitching.
walk. He had 81 pitches, 52 were strikes. And remember, I said he was dotting some of these. If you're talking what the strike zone probably should have been, or if he's getting the same call that a more experienced pitcher's getting, we're probably looking 65 plus.
Yeah,
that he would have been strikes on, and that's what you can't ask for more. And 81 pitches, 6 innings, honestly, probably could have gone at least another inning, but you pull him, let him come out while his confidence is hot.
Yeah.
Don't let him go in there in the 7th. People are questioning. I saw social media blowing up about
81 pitches in 6 innings. I would have. It don't matter if it was 0-0. Like
we saw that with Clayton Kershaw.
Like at this point, like that was everything he did was enough at that point. For me.
And that's exactly what you got to recognize is that this kid. Sometimes it's a mental game. We don't expect this team to be in the hunt. They're in last place in the AL East right now at 8-15.
Yeah, they're gonna be at the end of the day.
But under the same token, if I can take him out and let him end on a high note, 11 straight retired.
The confidence continues.
The confidence continues. Now he comes out. Now I can let him go 90, 92 pitches. Guess what happens? 7 innings, 4 strikeouts,
Yeah,
1 walk, 5 hits. Like, I'm still happy with a line that looks like that.
yeah.
So you gotta be happy. And for those out there on social media that were, this is another shitty situation by Elias. Da, da, da. Shut up. The kid pitched well. You're basing it off 1 inning where he struggled, and every pitcher has had innings that struggle. Everybody wants to blow up Kevin Gausman right now about how great he's doing.
That's coming down.
Kevin Gausman had good times here too.
Yeah,
remember those?
I'm dying on that hill. That's gonna come down. I don't care.
Yeah, it's situational. It's positional in what situations does your manager put you in, that type of stuff. So this kid comes in, has a great outing as far as not immaculate. Wasn't spectacular, but it was a great outing.
Yeah, it was like I said, it's a quality start for me. That's really if any pitcher for the Orioles is doing a quality start right now, I don't care if they lost that game 3-0. Like that's fine by me because that means that starting pitching is still staying what it's been doing.
Yeah. Same game. My son was getting tired, and I left a little bit early, and I'm really pissed. But the guys that did get the ball were really fucking annoying. It was that 1992 pricing.
1992 pricing.
It brought out the drunkies. But Mountcastle.
We were all like, "Where's Scott at? I didn't see him in that video."
Yeah. And it was about 3-4 rows behind where I was, and about, we'll call it 4 seats over, 5 seats over, somewhere around there. So Ryan Mountcastle hits the first home run over the wall in left field.
Oh, he crushed
but again, he crushed it. It landed 8 rows back.
Yeah.
We've seen a few pop flies. There was one other one in that game, I believe, hit by... I want to say it was hit by McKenna.
I think Mancini had one that was like
the pop fly out to left.
That would have been at least a double, but then like,
well, no, there was one that was a pop fly to left, and it landed on the warning track, which would have been a home run.
Yeah, it happened later on. I think twice. Once by them, once by us.
It's obviously the wall coming into play a little bit. We've also heard, you and I were talking about this before. Some of the stuff that we've heard about the balls being deadened. I've heard people make comments. I was talking to Joe Carlozo about this at the game. They're making comments, and I forget who it was on there was a podcast I was listening to, and it was a guy that's like really tight with MLB players. Like everybody trusts what he says. And he was saying he was told by multiple star players is what he said, that the ball so far this year, is like hitting a pair of balled up socks.
Yeah, they fucked with it again.
Yeah. Well, come to find out, I don't know if you heard it on 105.7 the other day. There's a group of guys that did an investigation into this. They're making 2 different balls this year. One's the new one that's a tightly wound one, and one's the new one that's like deadened, and the other one's the old one. And they're being mixed in.
Like, we're gonna be smarter than everybody. Watch, they won't be able to tell what's going on.
They won't be able to tell which ball's which. No, I hit it, and what should have been a home run is not a home run.
Let's not have a real spring training and do this. That's a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. So
MLB never gets out of it.
Interesting, but again, happy, very happy, but not so happy that it was an Oriole that hit the first home run.
Yeah,
because there was also been the Mancini double that you alluded to.
Yeah, he could have had a grand slam on Sunday. I think it was that.
The one that hit off the wall.
It's just it's going to be interesting. Like we've talked about it enough. It's either you're going to like the wall, or you're not going to like the wall. I still remains to be seen with me. Like it. If it's helping our pitching, like it's kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a good thing. Their home ERA is one of the tops in the league. And 2, I also can't judge the fact that until it's still going to be June, July, August,
heat.
September.
Dog days of summer. I got
Until it's summer in Camden Yards, I can't judge the wall until I see like
that humidor doesn't shoot shit for those baseballs. The humid air in Baltimore does.
Apparently,
I'll laugh if they just start going. Again, I told you guys opening day it was really interesting to see the Brewers not hit a single ball out that would have normally been a home run.
Not even a short like
they didn't not even anything like short that landed on the warning track or anything. It was interesting to watch. So to find out this thing about the balls is interesting as well. But look, the wall, not only does it produce its first home run, but it almost claimed its first victim.
Yeah, I missed. I got to try to check video. I tried to check a video. I never found it.
Last night, I can pull it up for you. Last night, we saw the Rougned Odor wound up actually hitting a triple out of it. And it literally hit what some people, and I have to say it's the guys from the Baltimore Sun. I think I may be sold on the name of it. You put the number 44 out there, you retire it, and you call it Elrod's Corner.
Yeah,
I don't hate
like
that,
Elrod's
especially
Corner.
being that he was a bullpen catcher for so many years.
I like when people ran with it was Elrod's Corner and became like IL Rod because someone's gonna get on the IL at this point.
It's interesting, but it was a crazy situation because when you watch it, and I'm gonna pull it up here for you, let you kind of watch it on air and tell me what you think. But the fact that he does not like break his freaking leg trying to slide for this ball is absolutely crazy. And of course, they don't have the video on here. It was on here. Here we go. This is they show it as the Ramon Urias first. So here's the. Oh, no, that's not the right one. Jesus Christ. All right. Well, anyway.
I'll just show you later. Yeah.
I'll show you later, but it almost claims its first victim. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see how they want to do it.
For someone to get hurt out there. But so with April ending, with the whole lockout, April, you had 28-player squad. So with the with the turn of the calendar, May 1st, you had to drop 2 players down or DFA in this situation. So Ryan McKenna gets the option down to AAA Norfolk, and then Kelvin Gutierrez gets the DFA. I've seen a little bit of chatter, like people kind of being up in arms about Gutierrez or Owings. Like, yeah, Owings doesn't. I want Owings gone as much as the next guy, but if Owings can do more, if you're going to have more pitchers, then